Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to yet another edition of the MBA adventure, Making It Happen with Fortuna Admissions. I have with me Judith Hodara, who is the co-founder of Fortuna and a former Wharton School admissions official. And we're going to talk about what do you do if you're a financial candidate going to business school? Should you approach your applications differently? Should you?
That's a great question. And for starters, there's so many different ways to look at the finance industry, or finance industry, depends.
Yes.
Depends how you're going to pronounce it.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
And I definitely think that comes to bear quite a bit, because being in sales and trading is very different than being in private equity. Being on Wall Street is very different than being in the international markets.
True.
And I think that it's really easy to bucket everybody in that world as, oh, I'm in finance and this is how I'm approaching my application. But all of these realms are really quite distinct. And one thing that we talk a lot about with clients that we're bringing through the process and coaching them is how to have them understand why they chose that particular strand that they're interested in. So when they came out of undergrad and they had 4 or 5 different job offers, what was it about your personality and your characteristics that led you towards one field or another? And that really tells quite a bit about how they might begin to approach the MBA application.
So if you were in investment management, what would you say actually?
So we would probably talk about the skills that they thought led them to choose that particular route,
okay.
As well as the kind of environment that they felt comfortable in.
Right.
Was it more collaborative? Was it more individually driven? What were some of their motivators? Were there intrinsic values, or was it sort of very bottom line for them? And really thinking about, well, what does the MBA bring you that you don't already know? And that's really important to keep in mind, that MBA programs are not looking for students that already know it all. They're looking for students that are going to want to come, contribute to the conversation, and take a lot out of it as well. And I know we're talking specifically about finance, but I think it's important to keep in mind that there's so much more that you're going to get out of that program by broadening your perspective. You may come in with a certain set of talents from your industry, but you hopefully in your application will show that you're open to widening your perspective.
And how do you distinguish yourself against all the competition? If I'm in private equity, do I talk about the big deal that I handled? Or if I'm in investment management, do I talk about the portfolio that I basically had outsized returns on? What do I do?
Well, there's certainly some of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a very fine line, and you and I have been talking about that, the difference between, standing on top of the mountain and screaming your own name and sort of saying, I worked with a team, or I helped others, or I was ushering this project with feedback. And certainly you are going to want to explain how you were specifically involved in a deal or a portfolio, but also being very mindful of what you learned from the experience. So nothing in the business school application is only about, I did this, I did this, I did this.
Right.
But it's, I did this, and this is what I learned, and this is what I'm then going to bring to your program. So to me, it's very much of a continuum of the ways that you've learned things that will eventually impact the school that you're going to.
And if I am a finance person who wants to stay in finance, or a finance person who wants to transition out of the field, is there a difference in the way I apply to business school?
Without a doubt, it's a lot about explaining what you've done and why you've learned this set of skills, and then you see yourself taking these skills and going in another direction with it.
Them.
Right? Very important. Or I've learned this set of skills, and now with some more management, for example, I want to further these skills in a management position if you want to stay in the same field. So there's always more than one way to skin a cat with that kind of information. So students recognize that when they come into these programs, they really have so many opportunities available to them. And we're fond of saying, and I was certainly at Wharton, that although you sort of spin this story and talk about where you see yourself after you graduate, 9 times out of 10, you might find yourself on a very different path, and that's to be expected.
Indeed, but always when you're talking to admissions people, be certain that you have a path.
You have a path.
Don't be a wanderer. That's a scary thing, right?
It is a little bit. Admissions offices want to make sure that you have a plan, that you're going to be employable after graduation, because don't forget, a lot of their rankings, as you well know, are going to be predicated on success after graduation.
So don't appear aimless.
Exactly. And one last thing I would mention is that being in finance is just what you do, but it's not who you are.
Right.
And so you really want to make sure that you bring out the other characteristics of your personality, your background, your motivators, things that are important to you as you tell the full story of who you are and why you want this degree.
All great advice. Judith, thank
Thank
you.
you.
This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching the MBA Adventure, Making It Happen with Fortuna Admissions. Join us for our other episodes.